put it into proper perspective, Kenya is the 62nd largest economy in the world. That means from that position, you're still a developing economy. Now, the challenges of COVID-19 are known to us right now, and we've seen exactly what the government has done so far just to protect the economy from the effects of the COVID-19 pandemic. In a little summary, everybody feels that the options for the government are quite few. Our GDP, we do know, has been hit heavily, and we do know that the best that we can do this year is grow by just 1%, or in the region of just 1.something% less than 2%. That therefore puts 2020 on a level we call just a recovery year, that you gotta push through. Now, we are being told that should everything go right, therefore, for us to recover from 2020, the next year we do expect to post around 5.4% economic growth. That's fine, therefore. But the question is, how do you position your business for recovery? Turns out there are minds within the economy that have really looked at how, therefore, you can come out of that. But that is going to be pegged on two areas. Number one, the business, and number two, what the government needs to do right now, therefore, to enable these businesses or enable you, therefore, to recover in 2021. Helping us go through these 10 key areas is my friend Alex Gade, the Managing Director at Tanalop Consulting Firm. Good morning, Alex.
Good morning.
Yes.
Siba, how are you?
I'm very okay, sir.
Good to see you. You're
Good to
doing
see
well.
you.
You're
Everything
safe.
is fine. We are safe.
Yeah, we thank God.
sanitizing.
We thank God.
We thank God.
Yes.
Let's therefore get directly into it. Just before we get into those 10 key areas, I just wanted to start from what the government has been doing right now. We do know that we are getting into another 21-day national curfew as well, with cessation as well. Good. Talk to me what the government should do, therefore, to smaller businesses now, more than ever, if we're going to talk about them recovering post the COVID-19 pandemic.
That's a good question, Siba, and it's probably good to take a few seconds to talk about the global perspective. As you have put it, there will be contraction, there will be economic recession. The global economy is going to contract at least 2.9%.
Yes.
That's a contraction.
Yes.
US is going to contract more or less the same rate. And the picture is not looking good. This conundrum and disequilibrium of the economy is going to affect every sphere of our lives. And the government has few options all over the world. And you can see some are doing well, some are doing pathetically bad.
Yes.
I don't want to mention names, but you know what is happening in our neighbors and also in the States. But I like the way the Kenyan government is doing. I think our benchmarking attitude is saving our government. And let's give credit where it's due. Because we are learning a lot from other jurisdictions, and then we are coming to customize and to domesticate the measures.
Yes.
The central bank has eased 1.5% of the GDP through tax reliefs.
Yes.
That's what the government did, and the parliament has passed on that, which is a good thing. The worst hit areas is agriculture, which was to contribute to 24% of the GDP, now is expected to contribute about 18%. But there's a good thing about that. The startup economy is doing very well.
Yes.
Let's see the half full glass. The startup economy is doing well. So, who is going to survive this conundrum and this equilibrium of the economy?
Yes.
A business must be innovative, a business must be creative, a business must think outside the box. We are going to have a new order, so the new thinking, and a new world, what we are calling the new normal. A new normal means things will never be business as usual. So when you thought of investing in real estate, when you thought of investing in any other sector, what was seen as obvious is going to be the other way. There will be a paradigm shift in the mindset. As a business person, as an investor, you must have a paradigm shift in your mindset.
Yes.
And that will save us a lot of stress.
Yes.
Government has few options to maintain the market liquidity, probably with the commercial banks. They have tried. Central bank has injected about 34 billion
yes.
to the economy, which was good.
Yes.
Also, the tax relief for about 1.5% of the GDP, which is a good thing. The fuel prices have come down globally. If you look, the prices are going to oscillate between $30–36 per barrel,
yes.
which is good.
Yes.
Right now, the fuel prices have gone down. I've just fueled my car full tank, and I'm happy because
you're just 78. I would like to think.
Yes, I'm so happy. Actually, we're doing well. The depreciation, the pressure on our shilling is going to be just below 10%.
Yes.
The exchange rate is going to oscillate between 104 to 108 shillings.
Yes.
Which is not bad.
The worst we've gone to during this period is 109. Would you say that's good?
It's not very good,
yes.
but the worst is can only get to about we are anticipating about 110
yes.
shillings.
Yes.
So that's within the range of 10% decline, which is not very bad. The exchange rate is going to remain relatively stable for the Kenyan economy.
Yes.
And also for the world currencies. Then the demand side, especially for luxuries and other things that are not basic needs, is going to go down in the short term. Mm-hmm. Basically, the global economy and Kenyan economy perspective is that 2020 is bad year. In terms of economic terms, it's a bad year. But 2021, the outlook is brighter. There will be more vibrant economic growth. Yeah, and then it will slow down as we head towards 2022.
Yes.
So, as a business person, how do you position yourself for this anticipated growth in 2021? You must survive this year. Yeah, forget about the bottom lines and the margins. This year is not a year to make profits. This is a year to survive in business.
Yes.
Restructure your financial obligations. Yeah. Renegotiate those loans with the banks. Mm-hmm. I know what we call the bad debts, mm-hmm. or the loans and non-performing loans. The portfolio for the banks will go up, but again, how do we survive? The banks must come in. Yeah, the Central Bank of Kenya has lowered the central bank rate up to 7%.
Yes.
About 3-4 years ago, it was about 11%. Now we are at 7%. That means more liquidity for the market.
Yes.
And that's a good thing. It has also reduced the cash ratio to about 4.25%,
yes.
which is a good thing. Again, it's freeing more liquidity to the market. But the elephant in the room is the informal sector. How is the government going to do about it?
Because that's where the question now begins,
about
isn't it?
80% of
yes.
our population.
Did you also raise your eyebrows when the president said just the other day when we were celebrating the Labor Day celebration, when he said that if this goes on, then we are at risk of losing 500,000 jobs in the informal sector?
That's another statement. It
yes.
could even head to about a million jobs lost.
And that's where the bulk of the employment
yes.
is, isn't it?
Look at the flower sector.
Yes.
It has lost about 100,000 jobs right now as we speak. 30,000 jobs have been lost. Formal jobs have
yes.
been lost. People have been redundant. Mm-hmm. Is that good for the economy? So how do we go about it? So the informal sector is the elephant in the room. For small businesses, tax reliefs are good, but they may not be the they may not be the main problem. How to stay afloat, yeah? How to maintain a workforce, that would be very critical.
For smaller businesses.
For smaller businesses.
Yes.
We also need to review the budgets. The SMEs and medium-sized enterprises need, even the big corporates, they need to review their budgets. downwards.
Yes.
Identify the cost drivers, yeah,
Yes.
and see how they can restructure some of those expenses.
Which is exactly what I want to ask you this morning when we're talking about a business really looking into their cost drivers now. Is your cost driver what is not making you stay afloat right now?
Let me hear that again.
Yes, is your cost driver
Yes.
what is not going to make you stay afloat right now? And so when you say review that.
Excellent. Now we must do what there's a tool we normally use when we do the audit for the corporate.
Yes.
It's called organizational capacity assessment, OCA tool, OCA process.
Yes.
That you are able to identify those cost drivers, yeah, and become more efficient. More effective.
Yes.
Look at the areas where you are able to generate more revenues for your business. Yeah, and think outside the box. If you are a pilot and you are at home, you can open up a car wash. You can go to farming.
Yes.
You can do other ventures as you wait for the aviation industry, which has been hit so hard. You know, we are losing 1 billion shillings every month as KQ. The KQ is losing 1 billion shillings for those flights to go into China.
Just to go into China.
Yes,
yeah.
that's a lot of money.
A China route.
Yes.
You're not even talking about the other routes
Yes.
as well. Yes.
So things are bad.
Yes.
And I must support the government, the measures it has put.
Of course you know,
Yes.
Alex, as we talk about this morning, I see your biggest recommendation is now the government should actually get into also renegotiating their loans, looking for moratoriums as well.
Yes.
Do you think that we have been slow to that? Because there hasn't been a big announcement from the government on this area. The only announcement that we've got is that just the other day they went and looked for extra debt, 73.9B to be exact,
Yes.
as opposed to renegotiating our interest payments to pump that money back into the health sector.
SIBA, I have no problem with getting loans and grants and concessionally, non-concessional loans by the government.
Yes.
Currently, the current account deficit is at 46%.
And you would say it's healthy from that perspective?
Actually, it has closed the 52% margin.
Yes.
Look at France. France is doing 1 or 2%.
Yes.
So when we are doing at 52%, I don't think we are badly off. The main issue I have with that is what we do with the money we get,
Yes.
the loan, what we do. If we mean for infrastructure development, probably 30-40% of that money goes to people's pocket. That's where I have a problem.
Yes.
But in terms of going for grants, I have no problem.
Yes.
In terms of restructuring, debt restructuring, that's quite okay. And most of these things are going to happen world over.
Yes.
The only problem is that if you go for a third-rated debt restructuring strategy, your credit rating will be downgraded.
Yes.
And that when you go to international markets, there will be a problem. You may not access some of these facilities. So I would urge the Kenyan government to be a little bit cautious as we do the debt restructuring to free more money for development and also to cope with the COVID-19. Yeah.
There's another area that you talk about right now that I think the government is actually facing a challenge in when you're talking about capital flight.
Yes.
Which, as we know, we are a consumer economy.
Yes.
Now, the main areas that bring money into the economy, let's talk about this agriculture, which you know is being affected heavily. Let's talk about this tourism, which has been affected heavily. Don't you think, therefore, that right now, more than ever, therefore, that this capital flight is not something that is on our own hands, that it has to happen whether we like it or not?
The capital flight is going to be there for a short term, in the up to the medium term.
Yes.
And it's not a good thing. Just remember when we announced the first case, the Nairobi Security Exchange lost about 130 billion within 3 days.
Yes.
That's capital flight. Is it good for the economy? No, it's not. Our export has dwindled up to we have lost about 70% of our export market.
Yes.
Just yesterday, Tanzania closed, said the trucks are not going to go to their jurisdiction. We export about 64 billion worth of goods to Tanzania. What are we going to do? Our balance of payment is pathetic.
It's pretty much going to be pathetic now.
I was
isn't it?
looking
Yes.
at the global trades,
Yes.
and I was only impressed with China, unfortunately, that
Yes.
their balance of payment is quite balanced. I was amazed. They export about. They expect to export about 11% of the global exports,
Yes.
and their imports is about 11%. So, and their growth has been revised from 3% to 1%. I think that is the only country that may not be affected greatly by this pandemic.
Yes.
But when you go to the European countries, France, Germany, Italy, they're going to be hit so hard. Contraction of about 5%.
Yes.
Go to Latin America, Argentina, Brazil, they are being hit 5% contraction of the economy.
Yes.
The US is about 2.5%. Everybody is being affected. The beneficiary of this pandemic is Chinese economy.
Regardless of the reduction in terms of growth.
They
isn't it?
export
Yes.
70% of active pharmaceutical ingredients in
Yes.
the world.
Yes.
Right now, everybody is learning for medicine. Every country, everywhere. So the PPPs, the PPEs, and all those other things. So Chinese economy is going to grow up to, by 2021, is going to grow up to 6% again, 5%.
Yes.
That's my prediction.
So now, we have been told that if we do everything right, Alex, that next year then we do expect to actually jump back by 5.7%. So when you do an analysis now for exactly what it is that we're doing right now, do we have those chances? Because there have been some critics who are saying, no, don't throw a number. Because up to now is when we're getting more and more cases, is when we're extending curfew and cessation of movements into and out of towns and also into our trade neighbors. Do you think that it's too early to throw this 5.7% for 2021? Or yes, what we've done right now is pretty much enough?
CBA economic modeling all over the world are allowed, and predicting that 5.4% growth in the next year, that's quite okay.
Yes.
But it will be a tall order. And it is what we say ceteris paribus, or other factors held constant.
Yes.
This depends on the duration of this pandemic, especially the first, second, and third wave.
Yes.
That duration is very critical to the recovery of Kenyan economy, and also the measures and what we say post-COVID-19 strategy.
Yes.
How are we prepared? Are we looking at the food security in this country? Or we get over COVID and then we find we ourselves in a drought.
Yes.
Look at the locust invasion. Look at the floods. Look at the prolonged rains. Last year we had about 60% post-harvest losses. Are we just focusing our eyes on COVID, on this 31 kilo base virus? We are not looking at the bigger economy also. Let's think post-COVID, because as World Health Organization has talked about, COVID is here to be with us. The virus will be here like HIV virus. But we must think beyond this pandemic duration.
Yes. Therefore, Alex, as we talk about this morning, as we clear this conversation as well, if China's economy is going to is going to grow by just around 1% this year, how do you talk about the chances of Kenya's economy growing, knowing that we heavily depend on the flourishing of China's economy? Because we pretty much consume from China.
21% of the Kenyan imports come from China.
Yes.
So that's how dependent we are to China.
Yes.
And we also have debt with China. So by the fact that China will be a little bit stable, we are talking about 1%, probably that's a good thing to the Kenyan economy, because we highly depend on Chinese statistics or dealings. If you look at the sub-Saharan economies, the whole of this region is going to grow by 0.2%. The whole of Africa is going to contract by 2%. So the Kenyan economy is on a point that we can say is being handled well. The only thing I have to fear is about the politics.
Yes.
The business world, KEPSA and the Kenya Association of Manufacturers are doing very well.
Yes.
But now when you come to the political side, we are doing a lot of harm to our economy. We are taking more time and more decisions that are going to harm our economy, and it is going to affect the Kenyan economy, the resilience of the Kenyan economy.
Yes.
So how we handle our politics, how we handle the locust invasion, the floods that are currently leading havoc all over the country and bringing all social and economic disruptions. COVID-19 is part of it, that will determine whether we achieve that 5, but a little bit, that's a little bit optimistic.
That is on the optimistic side,
Yes.
isn't it? This
I'll give it 3%.
3% is your projection. That's
yes.
2021.
Yes.
Fantastic. Therefore, there's one area that was actually told to ask you directly. When you're telling a smaller business right now that is really trying to stay afloat, that you have to find ways to even save right now within this COVID-19 pandemic, just trying to stay afloat. What is this one area that you'd actually advise this smaller business to go into to get this money to save as you're looking forward to 2021?
Before you save, you must earn that money.
Yes.
And for you to earn right now, you must be innovative, you must be creative. There's about 18% internet connectivity in the country, which is a good thing. So I would add small businesses and medium businesses to go online, to do what we call online businesses, computing services, those we call digital economies.
Yes.
So right now, in terms of saving, is a little bit tough to do saving. What I would call is prudence, financial management.
Yes.
Cut the costs, increase your income where you can, increase your sales through online sales, and all will be well.
That will be well. So according to you, 5.7% is quite optimistic. We're looking at about 3% come 2021.
That's absolutely
fantastic. Now you do know actually from Alex Gade, the managing director at Tanalop Consulting Firm, that you have to look for ways to stay afloat in 2020 as we expect for a turnaround in 2021. Taking back to the time that he walked into the studio this morning at Metropole TVKE on YouTube, on Twitter, and on Facebook, and on Instagram as well. I'm at Charles_K again. I know those messages are coming in 2146. We shall get to sample a couple of those in our subsequent bulletins as well. So I'll meet you at 10 and 11 for Metropole News. Other than that, from Business M team, it's a goodbye for now. See you tomorrow again for another edition.